going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets, powered by FTN. I'm your host, Chris Meaney. Thanks, as always, for taking the time to hang out just hours away from kickoff here on Sunday. Happy holidays to you and to yours. Hopefully you had a nice little break, and hopefully it's continuing. You're able to see some family. Just, hopefully everything was good out there, because I know it's been a really tough year for a lot of people. Not everybody has been able to see their family, but happy holidays to you and to yours. And a couple more days left, and we'll turn the page on 2020, and we'll get to 2021. Craziness. This is episode 21 of Mean Streets. A few different athletes we can dedicate this episode to. LaDainian Tomlinson, one of my favorites of all time. I mean, we saw a little bit of LT on Christmas Day, did we not, with Alvin Kamara and what he did on the football field? 6 touchdowns. And Sean Payton almost didn't get him in there for his 6th. I was ticked off watching that game, and it's not because I have him in fantasy. Listen, I'm on both sides of it. I know you don't care about my fantasy team, but one of my teams this weekend in championship round, week 16 of the NFL, I got Alvin Kamara up against Tom Brady and Mike Evans, and that lead quickly evaporated. And then another one of my teams, I have Mike Evans and Tom Brady up against Alvin Kamara. So I'm on both sides of it. I better get a ship out of one of them, I'm telling you. It was just crazy to see those 3 athletes ball out, especially Kamara. That was really fun to watch, the Christmas shoes. It was great. He had 5 rushing touchdowns last season. He has 6 in one game in Week 16 against the Minnesota Vikings. All right, enough about that. We got to turn the page. Again, only hours away from kickoff, but LT wore 21 in the NFL. Deion Sanders, Frank Gore. Frank Gore may wear 21 in the NFL for another 21 years. Around the diamond, Sammy Sosa, Roger Clemens. Say what you want about them, but they balled out. They wore 21. Peter Forsberg, one of my favorites to ever lace him up, wore 21 for the Colorado Avalanche. What an absolute stud. Love the way that guy played hockey. Speaking of hockey, World Juniors, Canada and Team USA having no issues with their games yesterday. Whew. Did they combine for 21 goals? Yes. Canada almost had 21 goals themselves. Cam Neely wore 21 for the Bruins, another beast as well. In the NBA, Dominic Wilkins, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, 3 beauties, all wore 21. It brings me to David Jones, another beauty over at FTN. He won $100K last night. $100K, came second in a GPP. I've been telling you guys about these studs over at FTN. They're winning. He basically used his NBA bank shot article over at FTNdaily.com. I mean, he gives the plays. He gives his exposures. He answers questions in chats. We all do. And we're having a bit of a promotion here because of him in celebration of David Jones winning $100K. So promo code 100K NBA will get you 20% off an NBA Platinum Season Pass. You're going to get all the articles, all the exposures, which experts are playing who, and how many lineups they're playing them in, what percentage of plays these guys will be in. For example, if Jones is putting in 15 lineups, and he has, I don't know who he had in there. He had Drummond last night. Nice revenge game for Drummond. If he's putting together 10 lineups and he's going to have him in 8, he's going to say Drummond 80%. So he's giving you a bit of an idea of how many lineups he's actually putting him in. He's not just saying, oh, I like Drummond and I might play him in 1 or 2 lineups. He's telling you how many lineups he's going to play him in, so you have a good feel of who he really likes and who he's putting his money down on. So shout out to David Jones. An absolute stud. Had him on this show before, breaking down the Thanksgiving slate, I believe, in the NFL. Going to have him on again. I know he's a busy guy. He's covered all the sports, baseball, basketball, football. You can catch him on, in the prime times. He's amazing when it comes to the showdown. So wanted to give him a shout-out. Again, 100K NBA. 20% off the NBA Platinum Season Pass. You're going to get all the exposures, all the articles, an opportunity to chat with these experts. You're going to get my new show with Stefano Vaccarino and Kyle Murray. We break down the NBA slate Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then just after that, you'll have Eddie Fear and Queisenberg DFS. They break it down as well, leading all the way up into tip-off in the NBA. So you're going to get all the streams, all the exposures, Eddie's rankings, Kyle Murray's projections, ownerships, which we talk a lot about those on the NBA primetime show from Monday to Friday. So shout out to those guys. Congrats, David Jones, and congrats to the FTN subs who have already had a lot of success. We're just a week into the NBA season, and guys are showing screenshots, and I'm all about it because it's the time for giving, and that's what we're here for. And I got a couple picks and some props to give to you a little bit later on. And I'm giving away the Jerry Jeudy signed mini helmet on this episode, too. I know, about time. So all that to come. NHL draft kit coming this week as well. So busy times. Let's get into it. Not a whole lot of news and notes really to go over. The biggest thing, I suppose, is from Cleveland. They're going to be about a lot of wide receivers today. In fact, 4. Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones. These guys are all out. They're not going to play. They're high risk, close contact to a teammate who tested positive for COVID. So that's crazy. Real tough if you got Baker Mayfield in a Superflex league. This guy. Real tough if you got Jarvis Landry going today in your championship round. This guy. So what do you do? I took a couple shots on some props. We'll get to a couple in a little bit, but for example, Marvin Hall, I may play this guy in a 16-team dynasty league. I took a shot on him. Anytime touchdown is 16-1. He's basically the only wide receiver there. They're going to run the football a ton against the Jets. They're going to use Kareem Hunt. They're going to use Nick Chubb. They're going to use all their tight ends. That's not new. They're going to use Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, David Njoku. They're going to use all of these guys. I made a couple prop bets. I'll share a couple with you right now. Like Nick Chubb over 1.5 catches, -105. William Hill. That's probably gone up now, 2.5, but I'd still take 2.5. I think Nick Chubb catches a couple passes. I think Kareem Hunt catches a couple passes. Austin Hooper, last time I saw, was at 2.5 or 3.5 rather. I got him 2.5 plus money when this went down. Again, FTN alerts. You follow that Twitter account, you're going to see right away a little note. Oh, Chris Meaney made a bet. He's making a bet at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. Why? He must, and you get the best odds available. If you wait around until now, you're not going to get 2.5 at plus 100. But I still like the bet. I think he catches 4 passes most likely. And then Kareem Hunt at 2.5 catches. I think I saw him at 3.5 as well. But, they're going to run quite a bit, as I mentioned, but they're also going to pass a little bit. They can't run the entire time, and Baker's been really good lately, but he's without all of his wide receivers, so all these guys certainly come into play. To play Marvin Hall in a championship week is really rolling the dice. It's completely risky. But you may not have better options. Like, I'm going up against somebody who doesn't have to make any tough decisions. They just have a star-studded lineup. I got to make some tough calls here. So I'm thinking maybe Marvin Hall over a Jacoby Meyer, who I was thinking about, Cole Kmet in the flex spot I was thinking about. I think Hall comes into that top 40 range of wide receivers now because there's not a lot of guys there. He's a deep threat guy. He's had a couple solid games this season with Matthew Stafford as his quarterback. So don't get too cute. You don't have to play Marvin Hall, obviously, but he is an option for you out there. At least maybe just take some shots on some of these props with the Cleveland Browns. Terry McLaurin looks like he's out. He's going to be doubtful. Logan Thomas is like the one pass catcher there now. I know J.D. McKissick has been catching balls, but it's just been McKissick, McLaurin, and Logan Thomas all year long. Logan Thomas, 15 targets, 13 grabs, 101 yards last week. More on him in a little bit. Don't know if Alex Smith or Dwayne Haskins is going to play. I know Haskins has been in the news quite a bit over the past few days. He apologized. He got his C stripped. He got fined, and he's just breaking some COVID rules, enjoying himself over at the strip club. Yeah, a little bit irresponsible for a guy who fell into the starting quarterback position this late in the season after losing his job when the Washington Footballs are so close to making the playoffs. But I don't want to waste any more time on that. If he starts, I really like Logan Thomas, considering that Logan Thomas has averaged 8.6 targets per game with Haskins as his quarterback, but it doesn't matter. Alex Smith has targeted him a lot too. So whoever it is under center for Washington, I think Logan Thomas is a top 5 tight end this week. I had him ranked just after Kittle and the big 3. I'll put in 4 there with Hawkinson, who didn't have a great game, but those are the guys for me. Tight end 6 maybe at worst. Keenan Allen looking like doubtful, but a game-time decision. I don't think you can mess around anymore. If you mess around last week with Keenan Allen, there's a chance you're done. You're not even playing in the finals this week. So even if you are, Keenan Allen would not touch my roster. I can't deal with that. Hasn't practiced all week. Only touched the field a couple times last week. Tyron Johnson and Jalen Guyton are real interesting here. I was looking at our free air yards tool over at ftndaily.com/air yards, and I looked at the last 2 weeks. So Tyron Johnson is another guy that I may start. I like him more than Marvin Hall, I think, because Justin Herbert's going to chuck. He's been chucking. He's been throwing a lot. Like the matchup against Denver. The last time these two teams played, they combined for 61 points. We could see some scoring here. Herbert enters this week tied with Baker Mayfield for the most passing touchdowns of all time from a rookie quarterback, 27. So I looked over at the last 2 weeks, and I'm just taking a peek here now. So Johnson's got the 12 targets. Guyton's got 5. Johnson's got 12 targets. Guyton's got 9. Keenan Allen's got 14, but we can forget about Keenan Allen. Also, Hunter Henry on the COVID list not going to play. That's why I kind of like Johnson here. Going to take some shots with Guyton down the field. We've seen that. He's got the high A-dot here. He's got 19.44 A-dot. That leads all Chargers players over the past couple weeks. Johnson's at 14.6. Keenan Allen is a 5.36 guy. So this is why I feel like Johnson may be a little bit safer, plays a bit in the slot. Take those short yardage passes from Herbert that Allen or Henry would get. And you got Mike Williams on one side, and then you'll have Guyton on the other side. So I think you could take some shots with both of these guys. I think Guyton is that high upside guy. He's got 175 air yards. Johnson has the 176. The receiving yards, Johnson 116, Guyton 99. He's got the 5 catches to Johnson's 9. And then Johnson has the 2 touchdowns. He's got the high A.2, 14.67, a 31% of his team's air yards over the last 2 weeks, Guyton 32%. The target share is led by Keenan Allen at 17%, then Johnson at 16%, and then Guyton at 13%. Again, you use our wide receiver cornerback matchup tool, and you'll see that Guyton has the tougher matchup. He has the tougher one. The Broncos have been decent this year. Stopping the pass. They've been pretty good. They're missing some guys, but they've been pretty solid this year against quarterbacks and just eliminating some throws. So, it looks like Guyton's going to be up against Devontae Bosby, who is only allowing a 63% catch rate. That's the best on the Broncos. Then Mike Williams will be on the left side, and then I would assume that Tyron Johnson takes that slot role. Even if Keenan Allen is playing and active, I still think there's something there with Johnson. Those are just 2 sneaky little Chargers plays. Maybe I've talked a little bit too much about them. I think there's something there. I think in DFS, there's something there for those 2 guys as well. It's a cheap little punt play if you're looking for something. James Robinson's going to be out. This guy balled out absolutely all year. He's tired. He's sore, right? There's nothing going on in Jacksonville. He was always among the leaders in terms of targets or carries and opportunities for a running back. He's really slowed off over the past couple weeks. I wouldn't go there with any other Jacksonville wide receiver. I'm totally not interested. I'm looking at my rankings. I got them outside the 40, I know. Divino Zigbo is the guy that I would like a little bit more than Dare. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. Ogunbowale. Butchered it. I know it. Doesn't matter. You don't play these guys in championship week. You just don't. You want to get cute DFS? Go for it. I would go with Ozigbo before. I think he's a better between the tackles runner. But I don't love the spot. Don't like it. Expected to play. Antonio Gibson, Tyreek Hill, Daniel Jones, Deshaun Jackson, Ezekiel Elliott, and Mike Glennon is going to start for those Jags. I mean, you play Hill. I think you play Gibson. I take a look at my rankings here. I got Gibson ranked as RB 23. Had him just after Mike Evans, Kareem Hunt, Giovanni Bernard, Jeff Wilson, who already played. Le'Veon Bell. This could be a Le'Veon Bell week. We've waited all year for Bell to do something, for one, but ever since he went to KC, it's like, oh, nice, Bell, KC in that offense. Well, there's still Clyde Edwards-Helaire there, but now CEH is gone. He's not playing, and we maybe could see Bell have 20 opportunities in this Kansas City Chiefs offense up against the Atlanta Falcons. So this is a really good spot for Bell. He's cheap and daily. I like him a lot this week. I think he touches the ball about 20 times. I think he has 3 or 4 grabs. He's going to get all the goal line work. I think he ends up with about 15 carries. That's basically what he had last week. So it was a season high for him across the board in a lot of his touches and his usage and his production. So Lev Bell is interesting to me. I would play him over a guy like Antonio Gibson. Just after Gibson, give you another quick peek just to give you a bit of an idea. All these rankings, of course, FTNFantasy.com. I'd play Gibson over Darrell Henderson. No Cam Akers, but I don't care about Henderson too much against Seattle. They've been strong against the run. I'd play him over J.D. McKissick. I'd play him over Tony Pollard. By the way, I would play Tony Pollard over Zeke. I would. I got both of these guys ranked in the late 20s. I can't trust Zeke. I can't trust him. He could aggravate the injury. He could just be limited, and he hasn't looked good anyways. I mean, Pollard looked real good last week, 60-plus yards through the air, on the ground, caught a few passes. We were all over his props. his 8.5 over rushing attempts, his yardage receiving on the ground. I would play Pollard over Zeke, but I don't love either of them, to be honest. It's a bit crowded, but I'd feel a little bit better in a PPR, full point PPR, about Tony Pollard. He catches a few passes. So that's really it for the news, notes, and injuries. Not a lot, as I mentioned. It's week 16. It's tough. You have your studs. You're in the championship for a reason. But think about the Chargers. Think about the Browns and the prop side of thing. And speaking of props, let's get to it right now. I'll bring up the board. A few props here for you. I've got several over at FTNBets.com. I'm up to plus 50 units now, so it's been pretty solid. It's been a nice run. Hopefully finish strong here and get you guys some holiday cash. I got Jalen Reagor over 2.5 receptions. So Reagor is fresh off a career-high 8 targets last week, 14.69 ADOT since week 13, ranked 7th among wide receivers with 13 targets. So Jalen Hurts is really targeting Jalen Reagor down the field, getting this guy involved. I know Deshaun Jackson is back this week. Don't worry about that. In 2 games with Hurts as his quarterback, Reagor has a team-high 160 air yards, 17.5% target share, and 33% of his team's air yards, and 16 yards per catch. Those are elite numbers. 16.2 yards per catch to be exact, but those are elite numbers. This is a high total game against Dallas. They haven't been able to stop anybody all year. I like Jalen Reagor to get 3 grabs. I like his over 33.5 receiving prop, and I like Jalen Hurts over 55.5 rushing yards. Again, we got it last week. I think it was just around that number. We got it in the final drive. We sweated it out, but we got it, and quarterbacks have run all over Dallas all year, really. When they play man, it's bad news because Hurts is just going to call his own number. We saw Kyler Murray run all over them earlier this year. Lamar Jackson run all over them. And Jalen Reagor has, 160-some-odd rushing yards in 2 starts? He's going to run. There's no question about it. I mentioned Logan Thomas. Don't have to spend too much time here. Over 4.5 receptions. I mentioned Terry McLaurin is not going to play. I just don't know where the offense is going to come from. Who's going to catch balls here? 15 targets last week, 13 catches, 101 yards. As I mentioned, 8.6 targets per game with Haskins under center. Haskins, 24 targets in his first 3 games with Haskins. So it wasn't just because, he had 15 targets last week, so he's averaging 8.6. He had 24 in his first 3 games. So it's really just been an inexperienced quarterback leaning on his tight end when he's there. And Alex Smith has done the same thing. And with no Terry McLaurin, you got to expect Logan Thomas to get 7 or 8 targets in this game. I think he gets to 5 catches. Kareem Hunt, mentioned him, 2.5. I would take over 3.5. I take Austin Hooper over 3.5. I think it's going to be a lot of running, but I think Baker's going to throw a little bit as well. We could see both backs on the field, and Hunt and Chubb. I like the over 1.5 for Chubb too. So those are just props I'm willing to take a shot on. 2.5, 3s, 3.5s. I like those, all day. No question. Jonathan Taylor. This one's just, he came down at 53.5. I've been all over him. I think week 12 I had 48.5, and then week 13, 53.5, and then he took a step back, I believe, last week. I got my weeks mixed up here talking to you, but I definitely was in on him back-to-back weeks, and now I'm in on him again, 53.5. I don't think we should be overly scared about this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. The rush defense, you look overall in the grand scheme of things, and you see that they've allowed the fewest fantasy points to running backs. They don't allow a lot on the ground, but they got a couple injuries now. They're not playing great football. And Giovanni Bernard, who hadn't done anything in 5-6 straight weeks, looked like an absolute stud last week against the Steelers. He had 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran all over them. Taylor comes into this game over his last 4 contests, averaging 17.7 carries, 88.5 rushing yards, 3.5 targets, 3.2 catches, and 21 receiving yards per game. He's gotten a few touchdowns over that span. He's really taken over that running back position. I think 53 is fine. He gets there. Even earlier in the year when the Steelers were strong against the run, they gave up some big plays. Miles Sanders comes to mind. He had like an 80-yard run against them. I think Taylor gets there at 53.5. And then, excuse me, I'm sorry, I had to do Calvin Ridley for a 3rd straight week. What's going on here? Calvin Ridley, 5.5. Get it to 6.5 or 7.5 or something. He's got 36 targets, 23 grabs, and just 294 yards. Just 294 yards over his past 3 games. We know Jerry Jeudy is not, or Jerry Jeudy. It's coming, by the way. We know Julio Jones, Jerry Jeudy wishes, double J's. Julio Jones is not going to play again this week, so I think we can just continue to ride out Calvin Ridley. It's a high total game. The Chiefs are going to score points. They're definitely going to score points. And there's not a lot of options there for Matt Ryan to throw the ball to. Russell Gage has showed up lately. Hayden Hurst has had, he was good last week. He was brutal the week before. The one constant in this lineup is Calvin Ridley. He's been the guy who's been able to stay healthy. He's been the guy who's been able to get all these targets and all these catches. So I like Calvin Ridley. He runs crisp routes. He's got great hands. He's a deep threat guy. So Calvin Ridley over 5.5. I'm going back to it, guys. This is the third straight week I've given it to you. We've hit the over now. Back-to-back weeks. Let's do it again. Over to the picks. I honestly, I struggled a little bit with the money line. There's a lot of just big favorites here. We'll get to that in a second. KC 10.5. I got that earlier in the week at 10. I feel better about that, but 10.5 I think is fine. I think that they win by 14 against the Hawks, or Falcons rather. I know that the games have been pretty close with the Chiefs lately, but they smell blood here. They get it done, and they lock up that 1 seed, and I think they win by 2 scores. The Bears, this is a must-win game for Chicago. They still have a chance to make the playoffs, especially with Arizona losing that game yesterday to the 49ers. They're favored by a touchdown. It does feel a little weird to roll with a team like Chicago and Trubisky to win by a touchdown. But listen, Trubisky's playing well. Dave Montgomery's playing well. Consider his rushing prop at 82.5. This Bears team is playing good football lately, and I think it's because, part of it is Trubisky, but a lot of it is they're taking advantage of some soft opponents, and they're being able to run the football with Dave Montgomery. Montgomery's been an absolute stud. His best 4 games of his NFL career have been his last 4. He's been an absolute beauty, success running the football, catching balls out of the backfield. Allen Robinson, the emergence of rookie tight end Cole Kmet. I like Chicago here. No James Robinson, going back to Mike Glennon. There's the Jags are checked out. They got their sights set on Trevor Lawrence and that number 1 pick. Trust. Buffalo. 7-point favorites against New England. No Stephon Gilmore. Bills are rolling everybody. I don't know what Vegas is doing here. I get it's in New England. It's Foxborough, Bill Belichick. No. I'm done with Vegas and everybody disrespecting the Bills. They're legit. They're legit, guys. They win by a touchdown. Over to the money line, Indy, Chargers, and Carolina. So I'm a little why I'm uneasy about the money line. I'm fine with Indy over Pittsburgh. It's fine. It's basically a pick 'em. I like the Colts. I think they're the better team. They got things going on right now. They're confident. I like their defense. They can get some pressure on Big Ben. I like the Colts to win. The Chargers and the Broncos are a toss-up. They're a coin flip. The reason I picked this, I did this last night, was I just think the Chargers are better right now. They've won 2 straight games. Denver's lost 3 of their past 4. They're without Phillip Lindsay. Drew Lock has been very inconsistent. I'm going with the better team right now, coming in hot, and the better quarterback in Justin Herbert. But all these injuries all of a sudden with the Chargers are a little uneasy, like Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry. A little uneasy, but I'm going to stick with the Chargers here, guys. I didn't want to come in with the money line and say, Baltimore. I mean, they're 10-point favorites. Daniel Jones is starting. I was going to pick Baltimore on the spread. I got a little uneasy. Houston, not feeling Houston on the money line. I wanted to give, some value here, and I'm going to roll with these 3 teams, even though I'm a little uneasy about the Chargers. And then I'm fine with Carolina over Washington, no matter who the quarterback is. I think that's going to be a tight game. As you see there, I got the under 42 between WFT and Carolina. Washington's defense is absolutely legit. Carolina's got some players, too. They played some strong defense. I think they got more weapons on offense. I think they win by like a point or 2. It's a field goal at the very end. I think this is a tight football game. I know Washington has a lot more to play for, and they're getting Antonio Gibson back, which kind of made me feel uneasy. When I see Gibson back, I'm like, oh, no. And then I see Hunter Henry, Keenan Allen. I'm like, but I'm sticking with these picks. Honestly, I'd be honest with you guys. I'd say, listen, don't pick the Chargers. Don't pick Carolina. Shy away from them. But I'm backing it up. I like those 2 teams. And then the Rams in Seattle under 47.5. That was just a tight grind the first time these 2 teams played. The Rams, Sean McVay really has Russell Wilson's number. I think he's 4-2 against him in his career. It's just going to be a tight game. It's going to be a tight game. It's tough to beat Russell Wilson twice. But I am leaning with the Rams. I love their defense. They put pressure on quarterbacks. Russell Wilson really struggled last time. Seattle's defense has been a little bit better. No Cam Akers is a tough blow, but I feel better about the under. I think it's low scoring. I think it's just a lot of field goals, not a lot of big plays in that game. I think we see the Rams win 23-20, and that would get us under the number. And then the big game, man, you want some props, you want some fun. Tennessee Green Bay over 53.5. I think that this is just a shootout. I think it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be, both running backs running all over each other, and Derrick Henry and Aaron Jones, if Jones can play. It's big plays with A.J. Brown and Corey Davis and Devontae Adams. I think there's a lot of points scored in that game. I think we could see 60 points scored in that game. And don't be surprised if the Titans pull the upset, because Derrick Henry is an absolute beast and nobody can stop him. And Green Bay hasn't been able to stop anybody on the ground this year. They've really struggled to stop the run. So those are the picks. I got the parlay there. Again, it's favorites, right? Even when you pick Buffalo, Cleveland, Baltimore, Chicago, Houston, that's only plus 234. And I got the Texans in there, who are brutal, but I think they edge out the Bengals. I don't think they win by a touchdown. I would actually pick Cincy on the spread, but I like Houston to win the game. And then the teaser, I got Chicago and Buffalo just to win. I got KC by 3.5. I got the Ravens by a field goal. I got the Titans plus 10 and the Cowboys plus 10. I see a lot of experts picking the Eagles. I know I'm rocking the sweater here, feeling like a champ. Woke up this morning feeling like a champ, so I put the sweater on. But listen, this Dallas Cowboys offense has been pretty good over the past couple weeks. Their defense is playing a little bit better. Philadelphia has a lot of holes in their secondary. I don't think that Philly's going to win this game. I wanted to come up with Dallas, but it's another coin flip game that I don't want to, I'd like to give you guys picks that I'm a little bit more sure of, but Dallas plus 10, yeah, I think that's fine. Both teams still alive, by the way, for playoffs. If they see Washington lose that game to Carolina, then that's going to be a big game for both teams. Philly wins out and Washington loses, they're in. Washington loses out and Dallas wins, they're in. Dallas has a shot. The Giants have a shot. It's wide open in the NFC East. It's exciting. All right, guys, that'll do it. I'm going to give the Jerry Jeudy helmet away. If you didn't subscribe to our YouTube page or to Mean Streets, and unfortunately not going to be able to have a shot here to win this helmet, but I do appreciate all the support. Everybody subscribing to our YouTube page. We're at 1,000 subscribers now over at our FTN YouTube page. Thank you guys so much. Football will continue. Week 17 is not so much a fantasy, but we'll talk some DFS. We'll talk some picks and some props. That won't die. We'll do this all the way through leading up into the Super Bowl, but we're really starting to turn the page here on Mean Streets with some hockey. I'm going to start doing some hockey previews next week. I bought a box of cards. I'm going to open them up, and we'll just talk about the player. That is. And maybe we'll give some hockey stuff away to the hockey fans out there. But I did the draw earlier. I used it like an online generator. I appreciate everybody who I wish I could give you guys all something. I really do. Especially this time of the year. It's tough times for everybody. But congratulations to Joe Turek, who is the winner of the Jerry Jeudy signed mini helmets. Full authenticity from Pristine Auction. It's going to come your way. Joe, I'll reach out to you. I believe you reached out to me via MeanStreetsEP21@gmail.com. But if you're listening to the show, don't hesitate to reach out to me. But I will reach out to you today to get your address and ship that helmet off to you. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the Week 16 of the NFL season. And on the way out, I'll give you a couple more here just because 'tis the season for a few more props. I mentioned all the Browns. Melvin Gordon over 2.5 catches. He caught all 7 of his targets over the past 2 games, and the Chargers are allowing 5.9 catches per game to running backs, and Gordon a season-high 7 targets and 6 grabs in the first meeting against his former team. Allen Robinson over 5.5 receptions, Dave Montgomery over 78.5 rushing yards, and Derrick Henry over 104.5 rushing yards. I'm out. Happy holidays again to you. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.